Hello and welcome. Uh, this week I'm doing the Update Your Game Challenge. This is day 1 out of 5. And we're going to be updating the game that I created last week in the Create and Publish Your Game Challenge. There are some things I didn't have time to do. And so I'm going to see how much of that can actually fit into this update that we're going to publish by the end of the week. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll share my screen. Hold on a second. All right. So the screen should be shared now. And go ahead and open VS Code. We have our box game. Trying to get this out of the way. Okay. All right. So we have our box game that we did last week. And there were a few things that I wanted to do this week. Let's go ahead and run it so that I can show you better. Okay. Just trying to recall. I'm gonna do it. I want to do cargo run dash dash target WASM32 unknown. Or build. I guess really what I want is run. Doesn't really make a difference. I can build and run afterwards, but let's just do run, so we'll do both. All right, so when that's done, we'll launch it in 2 separate browsers. And I'll start getting that ready. There we go. Now they're both connecting. So I have our signaling server running, and then I have the file server serving the WASM, and then we connected with 2 browsers into it. And now they have a peer-to-peer connection between them. So this is player 1, I think, and this is player 2. Yeah. So there we go. So a few things here. The score is not in sync, so definitely want to update that to get it perfectly in sync. Something's wrong with the score as well. The high score should not be increasing unless the actual score is. Oh yeah, okay, it is. That's fine. But yeah, I wanted the scores to be in order, so the highest score on top, and then to have them in sync, and then having the enemy be able to move as well, in a way that stays in sync also. So probably maybe we do the enemy first, enemy movement. Yeah, let's do that. And close these. Maybe I don't need to close them. I'll just reopen new ones later. All right, so go to the source, box game, and the enemy. So for sure, we need to add a component to the enemy so that it knows to synchronize that. just like the players have. Player, not the right place. Yeah, rollback. So this is what we want. Okay, RIP.nextID. What is RIP? Scroll up. Rollback ID provider. Okay, so I guess this is how it's able to have to not confuse the different IDs, I assume. New. Maybe I should look at what new has to say about new. Rust analyzer is still running, so I'm not going to be able to see that just yet. Yeah, it looks like when we add a rollback to it, to specify some kind of ID, and that's provided from the ID provider. So most likely we'll just copy this. Let's see, maybe Rust analyzer done yet. Okay, I'm not getting anything. It looks like it's done, but sometimes it doesn't work perfectly. So yeah, the enemy, we want rollback new, gonna need an ID provider. Okay, the rollback tag is given ID. And the RIP is immutable resource, unique IDs. All right. So let's see. Let's see how the player gets moved, and then we can use that. We can base ourselves off of that on how to move the enemy, because I assume like the way that I was updating the score, I just had a system. I was updating the values on the player component, and that's not in sync. So I suspect there is something else that I need for it to know that it needs to sync those values. Yeah, unique ID for every entity you want to be saved. Okay. Yeah, so we did that for the enemy. Right. Move cube system. All right. Example system that moves the cubes would be added to the rollback schedule. All right. So this is what we're looking for. Filtering for the rollback component is a good way to make sure the game loss systems only mutate components that are being saved loaded. Okay. All right. So okay, that makes sense. But in this case, all the players have a rollback component, I think. Let's see. Yeah. All the players. Yeah, all the players are spawned in this loop. How does it know which player is us, right? That's another question I have. So, I mean, it's spawning the players here, but there's no indication of which one is actually being controlled. Maybe through the handle. Maybe the handle is always, maybe the 0 is always the one that's, well, no, because the color is also based off of the handle. So, yeah, there must be somewhere where it's getting the player ID and controlling that one, or maybe it's just submitting the inputs. We'll find out soon enough. Yeah, okay, so back to the movement. It's querying for players that have rollback. It's getting the inputs. Okay, and so P dot handle. So P player. Yeah, P is the player. So this is happening for every one of these. P dot handle dot zero dot input. Hold on a second. Okay, inputs. Let's player inputs. Okay, this has all the inputs. It looks like it has all the inputs for all the players. So the inputs must be sent over the network and I guess synchronized, and then you just display based on what those inputs were for every player. Yeah, it looks like inputs is a map or an array, probably a map. And let's go to res value takes yeah, I don't know whether it's a map or an array. I mean, it might be an array. Um, so we have the handle which identifies the player in here, and then dot zero, because that would be a tuple, dot inp. So I want to go to inputs. You know what? I think this is where I need to go. Player inputs. So this is a struct. Well, a tuple really was just the vector. Yes. Okay, a vector of tuples has zero, has input and input status. So, where are we? Yeah. So this is the vector. I mean this, and then the ID points to which element, and then dot zero. Go back to that dot zero. That would be input, and input would contain INP. I'm not sure where input is defined, but it looks like it's a bunch of these. Okay. Anyway, yeah, this INP will give us the input, and this is how you determine, what movement we need to do. V being velocity. Right, so let's see. Are we actually changing the transform? So we're updating the velocity and then constraining it. Okay, so the velocity has some friction, then constraining velocity. There we go. Then we apply the velocity to the translation. All right, so it looks like there is a little bit of physics going on where it's not just simply updating the positions, but actually has some, I guess, momentum, you could say, and friction that's applied. So we can probably do some things with that. Yeah, constrain plane to cube. Well, cube to plane. So that's so we don't go off the plane. All right, so I see how the players are moving here, but this is all based off of inputs. The enemy doesn't have really inputs. Um, there isn't like any one player that is controlling the enemy or anything like that. So there's, maybe there's a few ways we could approach this, right? So we could have it be deterministic in that well, it doesn't even have to be deterministic, but as long as there's kind of like a synchronized starting frame where it starts to behave, um, then that state can be collected, and then everyone can have that in sync. So it could even be in the same system, I think. Um, yeah, and then just instead of being based off of the inputs, hmm, maybe we just give it a try and see. Um, yeah, but before we do that, uh, I do want to check out the velocity a little bit. So this is a component. It has reflect. Not sure why yet. But yeah, this velocity, if I recall, is being added to Bevy. Or not to Bevy, to the player. But also, I feel like in the main somewhere, maybe there was a place where, yeah, register rollback component. So it's being registered here. So I think I need to do this with any component that is going to be synchronized. And actually, that's probably why the score is not synchronized, because it's not in here. And we added the score to the player component, which is not in here either, which makes sense because we want each player to have their own distinct ID or handle, so that they can control um, appropriately. But yeah, okay. Before we move the enemy, let's do this thing with the score, because I feel like we can fix that now. And so instead of having it inside the player like this, we'll do a score component, and then we'll do high score and current score. We'll just call it score. Oh, that's not doesn't seem like great naming, but I don't want to overthink this. Yeah, and we'll remove this from the player. Score, yeah, high score and current, or highest. I'll just leave high score, like that. Yeah. So now that I've removed that from the player, I need to go down here and fix this, because we were, yeah, doing that on the player. Also, the player needs to have that component now. Let's see. There, I think that was a bit, no, it was a bit lower. It's the enemy, and then the player. Where's the player component? Still a bit further. Player. Okay, so here we'll do score and default, because the scores will start at 0. And this will get formatted later when we do cargo FMT, but we'll resolve the errors first. And just so I don't forget, because I feel like I'm going to forget it, but we want to synchronize the scores as well. All right, so that's oh, wait a second. That's not component, that's resource. This doesn't have a comment, right? Okay. So velocity is a resource. All right, but okay. So I thought velocity is a component, isn't it? Okay, what's missing here? Get registration. Okay, so the velocity derives a few more things than what we derive on our score component. Well, a few, just, yeah. So let's see if that made it happy. Not yet. Um, so what does velocity do differently, right? So does velocity implement anything? I'll just search for velocity. And you know what? I don't need to do it like this. I just do score default. All right, what does velocity do differently? So what I want is the same as velocity. Yeah, so I don't see what's different here. Maybe in the main. No? Actually, yeah. Yeah, I'm really not sure why it's not happy here. Score. Okay, and velocity. Yeah. Nothing looks wrong to me. They should be able to work just fine. Let's see, I mean, yeah, components and resources. Transform is definitely a component. Velocity is a component. Frame count, I don't know what frame count is, but that looks handy for maybe calculating the score. Yeah, I'm changing the order. I don't think that would matter, but oh, of course. Okay, I didn't copy the right thing, so somehow I didn't notice that we had rollback resource, we had rollback component. So yeah, this should work. All right. So we have our resource. We added that to the player already, and then we need to fix down here. We don't need this player score anymore, actually. Let's see. Okay, we do need. So that's the scoreboard. Player. Really, what we want is score now, and I guess we do need to identify the player as well. So we'll do a tuple with player and score. Doesn't need to edit, so just let's see. Yeah, we don't need this player score. So yeah, we should have all the info we need inside the score and the player. So I think we can, yeah, we might need this for the sorting. Yeah, we do. So maybe we do need player score. All right, for each player, now, since that's now a tuple, we have player and score. So player.handle and score by score, and this would be score dot current. Right, and then yeah, I think that's all for this system. Yeah, the sorting I think doesn't work yet, but we'll fix it afterwards. Now let's just get the scores synced. Increment scores. All right. So player and do we actually need score anymore? Player anymore? I think just incrementing the scores would be enough. If score dot current. This is where we would need the frame number, because like if a player is running at a faster frame rate than another one, I guess they could potentially have a score that's increasing faster, which would be unfair. Score current, but at least let me update these variables. And then this will be scored on this. This is score. Right. Trigger death. Right, where we reset the score to 0. Player query. We need to score. Yeah. And yeah, the only thing we need from player is score, so this would be score now. And I guess score query. And yeah, score. I mean, this is kind of weird to think of a score transform. I'm just gonna call it like that. Do with we still have to become a tuple with layer without enemy. This will be a new filter. And score dot current and 0. And let's see, player query. This is going to be score. All right, so I think we have no more errors. So this should compile. And right, and then we'll update. Okay, let's just see if it's in sync now. And then we'll update how the scores are increasing afterwards. So we should be working together, and there we go. So now we can see the scores. So they look pretty much in sync. Let's trigger a death to see 622, 6. No, they're definitely not in sync. Yeah. So yeah, let's work on this a little bit more. So the component is a robot component. The moment that the death is triggered, maybe, is not necessarily consistent. Yeah. Or how the way we increment the scores is not consistent either. So yeah, first let's increment the scores based on. I'm pretty sure we need to do that based on the frame count. Frame count. Okay. I don't need to copy this, but yeah. Is this used anywhere? Increase frame system. so access the resource. We don't need to mutate it. Manipulating resource will be added to the robot schedule. Increases the frame count per one every step. Filling and saving resources works directly. You should see this resource rolling back, counting back up, and finally increasing by one every step. Right, so I think we can rely on this. If they do anything differently when they register that plugin. Frame count. Increase frame system. So that's inside of GGRS schedule. So I think we need to do that with our increment scores system as well as trigger death, because these need to be like they need to be rolled back. Increment scores and trigger death. Let's remove them from here. Right, yeah, because even remove cube systems in here. The update scoreboard I think is fine because that's purely reading. It doesn't change. It doesn't mutate anything. It's just for the display, so that one should be fine. And yeah, this might be enough actually, even without relying on the frame system. No, we definitely need to rely on the frame system because it won't be starting on the same frame otherwise. Yeah, so let's use the frame count resource to update the frames on the scores. Let's see, increment scores. We need the player query and we need this. Doesn't need to be mutable, so let's just make it not mutable. And I'm going to do a cargo FMT. All right. So the score will be like we might need one more variable in here to keep track of what frame they died on. And then the score will be the number, it'll be the difference, right, between the frame they died on. Okay, so let's go to score. And we'll do last death frame. And that would default to 0. Well, I can't spell. All right, last death frame, and then when we set the score to 0, we won't need to set the score to 0. We'll just set the last death frame to the current frame. Let's see, frame count. Yeah, we need that here. Frame count. Dot. Let me see. Dot frame. Frame count. Dot frame. All right. So I'll set the last death frame, and it's probably not public. Maybe it doesn't matter. Why can't it find this score? Score. Oh, I added this in the wrong place. Player score. So I should rename this. I'll rename this to like sorted player score because I'm already confusing with the other one. So this does not go here. This is just for the scoreboard. Yeah. Yeah, maybe not score. I'll just call it scoreboard score. Yeah, because the vec is the one that would be sorted. This is just an item inside the vec. So, all right. But at least with scoreboard score, it'd be a little less confusing. All right, score, last death frame. All right, and frame count dot frame. Expected U size. It wants a U32. That's okay. It makes sense because if your U size might be different on different machines or different players. Over to the network, you need to transfer something consistent. All right, so frame count dot frame. That's good. And let's see, increment scores. Instead of having score dot current increment, we will set it to frame count dot frame minus score dot last death frame. So the difference between when you died and right now. Current. I mean, I can change all this to U32. That's no problem. Go. Um, it's not happy here because we changed. Okay, U32, U32. All right, and increment scores. So score that current is set. Score at current is higher than high score. Yeah, okay, that works. So hopefully, and let's run this. Now the scores will be synchronized. So other one. Right. Just a little smaller. Okay. So now, oh, okay. Not the controls aren't working. Sounds like everything's frozen. Let's just try this again. Nope. Everything is blocked somewhere. I don't see any logs or any errors, so yeah. Okay, so somehow we kind of jammed the everything. Um, everything's kind of frozen there. So like even the player movement. So I'm not sure why. Um, well, you know what? I was looking for logs in the wrong place. If there were logs, they would not be in the console. They would be in the browser. Um, I can remember. Okay, I don't remember the hotkey. More tools. It should be Control-Shift-I. Not. Yes, okay. There we go. Okay, unreachable. Is that it? Or is that something else? Systems with conflicting access. Intermediate run order. Okay. Probably, yeah, I think we ran into something similar before. Yeah, conflicting access. Indeterminate run order. Okay. So either we fix the run order or we make it sure that they don't access the same stuff at the same time. All right. So there's in the main now let's see, we moved the systems to be, where are they? Here, yeah. These are all inside of this add systems. Yeah, and I guess the score is being accessed by multiple things. And so it doesn't know, okay, do I read the score or would I modify the score first, right? So, as a system to the default system set schedule of the app schedules. All right, so okay, let's take a look at the systems here. All right, so here we're getting mutable access to score. And I mean, yeah, the high score could be different based on what order this runs in, right? So if it um, triggers the death before or after incrementing the score, then it could be off by one. And so yeah, we need to tell it, how to deal with that. So I guess, yeah, we want to tell it which one to run first. Or I'm thinking, since we have access to the player here and the frame, and also like this could be one system. I'm trying to think, like, is it better to keep it separate though? Probably. Might be simpler to have as one system, but it might end up turning into like one massive system that does everything. So yeah, we'll just do this properly. So yeah, the increment scores and the trigger death. These are the two that are conflicting, I think. The increased frame system, that's fine because we only have read. Well, I mean, then again, here again, like, the read could be different, right? So yeah. So I probably need to figure out how to change the order that these are going to run. Oh, I kind of, yeah, I mean, I want to keep them in the same schedule. But maybe it could be in a different set. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do this. I know that you can. So maybe a good place to start would be, what's the difference between a set and a schedule? And I'm noticing here it's adding two systems and a tuple. So I guess you can, I mean, oh yeah, it's add systems with an S. It's just like here. If I add them separately, will that mean, um, will that fix my issue? No, I think add systems is the same, right? As just doing add system individually. Yeah. Okay, so I really don't want to have to deal with ordering these, but I guess we have to. Um, yeah, maybe just to keep things simple. Maybe I will put it in the same system. Um, because the trigger death really we're only triggering a score reset, so it's all scores. So maybe I just do one system called update scores that does both. Yeah, I think that would make sense. Um, all right, hold on. I'll create it as a separate one. I don't want to lose track of what was already there. So this would be update scores. So we've got immutable player query to mutate the score, like the frame count, which is okay, that's fine. So we have that on both. And then the player query here, muting the score and the transform. And we want to make sure it's a player and not an enemy. Yeah, so this is what we need for the player query. Yeah, and then the enemy query, that doesn't change. All right, so we'll increment the player scores first, and then trigger the death if needed. And okay, let's see. Oh, I did not paste that in the right spot. Right, okay. And no field current. Oh, right. This is tuple. You score and you transform. You could transform. I could just leave this as underscore, but don't need it here. And then here does not need to be mutable. Right, why is this mutable? This could just be a reference to transform. And yeah, it doesn't need to be mutable. So I think that's all I need. I can get rid of these two systems. And now I just have the one system. Update scores. and this will trigger death. Scores. I mean, yeah, this is update scores, so I'll just say increment current score. Wait. So let's see if we finally got the score synchronized. Oh yeah, and I forgot to add this to the, I forgot to register this. In the main here, we just have this one system. And is that it? I think that's it. All right, well that's good. If this really works, that will prove that we figured out how to keep things in sync. And when we get the enemy moving, we'll be able to do the same thing. All right, so this is ready here. And let's make this a bit smaller. Oops. I don't think that's what okay. Refresh this. Hopefully it's happy now. Well, the scores aren't updating, so that's not a good sign. Shift I. No. I'm not sure why. Control Shift. Maybe is that an L? Maybe. All right. Unreachable systems with conflicting apps access. Having to terminate when so we still have some conflicting access. Let's take a look at what's mutable. Okay. So enemy. This does not need to be mutable. Okay. But I'm pretty sure that's not what the issue was. What we should look at is the main and look at the components. So we're updating the player positions here. And yeah, I mean, we didn't really fully solve the issue here by updating, because the moment where a player dies and the score is caused to reset, that will depend on the position. And so this needs to run consistently before or after. So we need to tell it. Increase frame system. I mean, actually also because it needs to know whether this needs to run before or after that. I'm pretty sure there must be like a function where I can say run this, then this, then this. Right. I'll have to look that up. Maybe Baby Book. And it would be, I guess, systems. I'm not seeing anything here. Maybe setup. Yeah, I think this is just like the getting started. bit further. So maybe API docs, learning resources. This looks like, well, I thought this is what I wanted, but it looks like it's like not exactly what I was looking for. Um, Let me come back to this. Examples maybe. No, I want to look at the code. And I don't know that any of these have the, maybe. Is there something that might have some systems ordering? Yeah, I'm not sure. I might have to get into this tomorrow. Um, yeah, schedule and set. Yeah, so maybe I'm not 100% sure, but I think inset refers to will it actually run or not? And then in schedule is like what order will all this stuff run? Right. So that makes sense. Yeah. I'll have to find some documentation related to this. Because I'm pretty sure this is what we need to use to tell it, what needs to run when. I mean, this is actually what's being done here because like if you look at the lobby, there's lobby system, lobby cleanup. It's like on exit. Um, and is there another one? Lobby startup. These are on enter. So, I mean, yeah. So all of this runs inside of on update or, I mean, in this case, it's not specified which set, so it's just the regular set. Advanced frame update. Um, but either way, like I can't really do, I probably have to specify my own enum, like a different enum, or something, or create another schedule. Um, yeah, we'll have to look at this tomorrow. But yeah, I think we're getting really close. We just need to order these three systems, so that this can behave predictably. And yeah, so that's all for today. And I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for day 2 tomorrow. Um, and if you enjoyed this, like, share, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.